Right.
We're live.
Yeah, we're live.
We're live.
All right.
We're live. You ready to start the video?
Yeah, let's start the video.
You think it's going to be loud?
It might be. Might be a little too loud.
Let's see how it goes.
All right.
We had to unmute the mic there.
It unmutes automatically. Okay. Yeah, it mutes us while we.
Oh, we're in.
Yeah, we're in. All right. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another live episode. Live episode.
Tom.
Live, real.
Tom may interject before we go through our intro.
Yes. I'm gonna put my hands on my lap.
Play the music.
Play music.
Play the music.
Okay. I don't know what's playing out there.
Oh yeah, it's fine.
It's playing. Okay. This is our intro.
We gotta play.
Intro music.
We have to play some intro music if we're gonna do this.
Right.
I mean, we're coming
You are
in.
now listening to the best friends podcast in the world.
Oh, it's coming.
Yes. Are Richie's parents in the chat yet?
I don't know. I don't see it.
I told them yesterday they're not allowed to comment.
Hell yeah!
All right. All right, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome to us intruding in your dinner.
We're intruding on some beverages.
Yeah.
We apologize.
All right.
At the same time, we don't. We're here to have fun. I wish. You know what? This kind of feels like my first birthday when I sent out a bunch of invitations and nobody showed up to it.
showed up.
And my
Yeah.
parents were like, "Oh yeah, I really wish." You know, they started bringing in kids from the neighborhood to just try and try and make me feel like I had friends.
Maybe a Tuesday in the city was a little too.
It was ambitious.
Yeah, we were ambitious. But anyway, welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome everybody to the greatest podcast to exist in the history of podcasts. It's your number one source for all things craft beer related.
Yes, sir.
We are the internationally acclaimed Cindy Crawford approved podcast of hops. High fives. Get in on this action. All right, high fives all around. Yes, love it. I am your host, the crispiest of boys, the king of the butt rock. That didn't come through because I turned the volume down. There we go.
And
Tom.
And I'm your other host, the Hop Master General, the Royersford Rattlesnake. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's Dan.
All right. And no song this week, guys.
No song. We're live.
We're live.
We're on location again.
So we are, if you've been following our Instagram stories, which we have, we've just been really hammering this on Instagram.
Yeah, we have just been
We're-
making sure you see it.
We're live at Victory Tap House in Philadelphia. The brand spanking new. It's very new smelling. There's that new car smell to it.
It's got that new tap house.
Yeah. We are we're joined tonight by returning guest, Tap House. What's your new? Do you have a new
Do you have a new title?
You were
It's head brewer, but I'm the only brewer, so I'm also the assistant brewer as well.
the brewer.
The
Brewer.
Head brewer, assistant brewer, facilities manager.
The head, the body, the feet,
Yes.
everything.
Richie
Taster.
Tevlin. Welcome back, Richie.
Welcome back,
Thank you.
Richie.
Excited to be
And,
back.
I mean, if you can hear the nerves in Dan and I's voice, the man sitting next to me is the reason why. We're joined by.
I think it's the reason. I think it's one of the reasons why we have a craft beer podcast to begin with.
Yeah,
I mean,
would.
we wouldn't be into craft beer if it wasn't for Victory. I would say Victory is
Yeah,
one of the
for sure.
stepping stones for us.
I mean, when craft beer started to get popular, just proximity alone, I mean, Victory was on our doorstep.
oh yeah,
We're joined by founder and owner, co-owner?
Founder works, Brewmaster
founder,
works.
Brewmaster,
They're both on my business card.
Brewmeister. It's Bill Covaleski.
Indeed.
Thank you for
Happy to
coming
be
on
here,
with us.
Tom.
This is
Up, Bill, co-founder of Victory. I mean, God, I wish we could get an applause out there right now. It would be awesome.
it would be really cool if the people were here.
Well, it's really just a matter of timing. I volunteered to be born before you guys, and my dad volunteered to teach me how to homebrew. So it just, things just rolled into place in order to expose you guys to beer at a ripe young age, I suppose.
Yeah, so
You got us right at the point of beer popularity for us.
Yeah, that was like I would say it was pretty much the beginning of the craft beer boom in the mid to
Early 2000s?
the early aughts.
The early aughts. I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we we're the best friends podcast in the world. We're live on location.
We've got the guests. Do you want to do a little housekeeping? Should I do a little
so quick housekeeping.
Yeah, for everybody out there who's never heard us before, which is everybody,
Literally
who's at
everybody.
this bar right
Everybody outside of this these glass panes here.
Everybody who's outside of this glass case of emotion. Follow, rate, and review, guys. We are on all major podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. You can ask Alexa to play our podcast. If you like craft beer and you like people talking about craft beer and you like somewhat funny jokes, we're there for you. On all major podcast platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell your friends about the podcast if you like it. They might like it too.
Yeah. Give us a rating. What's our rating, Tom?
5-star party.
5-star party. That's right. Guys, we want a 5-star rating. We don't care what you write in the review. Just give us 5 stars. It could be scathing review. Just tell us how bad this is, how bad we suck, but just give us 5 stars so we show up better in the algorithm.
And then, as always, we're brought to you by the Hopped Up Network. Hopped Up Network is an ever-growing craft beer podcast network. It's full of independent craft beer podcasts, much like our own. You can follow them on Instagram. It's at Hopped Up Network. And www.hoppedupnetwork.com is the website.
Hell yeah. I love those guys.
Yeah. So nice and compact. A nice and compact housekeeping there.
Nice, yeah. Keep it nice and compact because we're on location, so it's time to get down to business. I mean, this is something that we've been waiting for. I mean, we've talked to Richie, and our last podcast with Richie, I would say, was pretty fun. I'm just gonna say it right now.
From what I remember, it was fun. It was very fun.
Yeah, we drank a lot.
Richie sent like a case of crowlers over, and he was
Richie,
like,
how many crowlers were in there?
I think there were 6 or 7.
7 crowlers.
Yeah,
on
when
a
we
Tuesday
drink,
night.
Yes, when we drink at the brewery, we're drinking 1 or 2 sips. Like I forget that other people actually drink entire beers. So I was a little bit ambitious.
You were very ambitious.
We started.
I was very ambitious as well because I had to find a Uber at 10 o'clock at night in suburban Chester County on a Tuesday.
Didn't go well.
Didn't go well.
He almost slept at my house.
I almost slept in the studio.
Yeah.
So Richie very intelligently sets the bar very high so we can all crawl under it with sufficient space, if that's the case at the time.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
I would say he set the bar for all future brewers that we had on there. I'm like, so you think they're going to send 7 crowlers for this one? Should you have your guest bedroom made up, Tom, for me?
I mean, we did get a case last week.
Yeah, we did.
That was very interesting. He was like, I don't know, we can try them all. I don't know.
Well, we got 30 beers here. I don't know if you guys are ready.
Yeah, so sitting here in the tap house second floor, I'm looking over at the many, many taps you guys have here. And I am impressed, but also terrified. I'm so glad we're doing 5-ounce pours.
Yeah, that's 30 staring at us right there. I'm not sure we need to do them all.
I think 30 at my early to mid 20s. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds doable.
Of course.
30 taps at mid to late 30s now. I'm like, I just exhale. I'm like,
I can already feel the headache coming on. I think we have a question already coming in here, Dan.
Awesome.
Yeah, actually, we do have one here from Twitch. We got, so does Victory only brew their own beer and not contract brew?
So do you contract for other breweries, I think is what they're asking.
So with our affiliation with our partners at Six Point Brewery, we do produce the 6 Point beers, but
Oh, okay.
we are all part of the family. So technically, I would not call that a contract. We are the facility that produces the 6 Point beers in Downingtown, Pennsylvania.
Oh, very
Oh,
cool.
wow.
It's
Okay.
like a coalition,
Yeah.
maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, the tap room in Red Hook, New York, is producing, sort of R&D versions of 6 Point beers as well. So we have this pipeline of innovation that comes to us. But yeah, that's been the arrangement since the partnership began.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, brewing at the production facility, it doesn't. When we brew the 6 Point beers, it really does feel like we're brewing the Victory beers. Like even though we're Victory employees, it's definitely not a contract brewed situation.
Okay.
Oh,
Very
wow,
cool.
yeah.
So with that, do they send you the recipes? Or are you guys working on them in collaboration?
It's been sort of an evolution since the start of this, going back to 2018. We adopted a bunch of recipes that came originally from the Taproom Brewery, and then optimized them in conversation with the 6 Point brewers, how they were going to work best in our breweries.
Okay.
And and we had 6 Point brewers on site as well. So it really is a collaborative effort, both parties working as a team in order to create the best results possible.
That's very cool.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, speaking of, getting into Victory beer.
Yeah.
I mean, let's
I think we're
get some beers together.
we're starting out with Donnybrook.
Yes, we need to get Jesse or Fox over here to get some pours.
So, Richie, since while we wait for the beer,
I can probably go run off and grab it if you guys want to.
And we could also
Too
talk about the
chatty.
history behind
Yeah.
the beer in question,
Yeah,
right? I
let-
mean, an Irish stout is perhaps not cutting edge right now in craft beer, is it?
It's probably not getting a lot of Instagram likes.
But hey, we're here in March, and it's a fantastic thing to have available to us. And it was born at a time when there were taps in play for Nitro, right?
Mhm.
So at one point, Guinness dominated all the Nitro taps, and then other Nitro taps started to happen. Boddington's grabbed a lot of them, but
Yeah.
Nitro taps were a thing, and they were in play, and we were able to transition from a product brewed abroad to a product brewed here in Pennsylvania for a lot of other bars and restaurants.
It's very cool. And it's funny you say, like, Guinness and Boddington's. In college, I worked at an Irish
Mhm.
pub, and those were the two Nitro choices. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those are the only two you would see back then. And
One was gold and one was dark. What else do you need?
exactly. And then you saw the evolution, more people experimenting with Nitro. And
Mhm.
I remember the one.
I know exactly what you're going to talk about, Daniel.
So I had an American IPA that was on Nitro, and I remember texting Tom being like, I don't know if an IPA has its place in Nitro.
And which now, I mean, there's
so many, and
Yeah.
it seems to be commonplace. And to be honest, I've actually enjoyed a few. At that time, it was that time that Bill mentioned. It's all of the it was stouts, it was
Sure.
Boddingtons,
Yeah.
and that was the,
and I think that's what you get used to those styles, like the creamy dark style on Nitro, and that's what you're looking for. And you have a bitter IPA on Nitro. It's kind of a knock to the senses there.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you there. But I think that's one of the beautiful things that we as craft beer producers and you as craft beer critics or promoters have done a great job of, and that is, rolling with the punches and learning to appreciate new opportunities, things that at first blush kind of shock us. And then when we actually take a little bit more time in appreciating the nuances of those things, we realize that, yes, they're new and different, but they're equally beautiful in some ways we never really fathomed before.
Yeah, I mean, you put a IPA on Nitro, it sounds crazy, but 10 years ago, if you said that an IPA had, 20% oats, 20% wheat,
That was
that
also
sounds crazy.
Yeah.
And now,
Yeah.
90% of the IPAs in the market are hazy IPAs filled with
Right.
adjuncts.
Yeah, it definitely the newer styles of IPA definitely lend themselves more to that nitro, the nitro texture.
The mouthfeel
Yeah,
and
the
everything
mouthfeel,
like that,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, a nice bitter, creamy, piney, resinous beer isn't exactly appetizing.
You phrase that so well. Yeah, creamy just is the word that doesn't fit there. Yep.
Well,
all right,
speaking
so
of creamy, let's
we have
let's get down to business with
here.
Donnybrook.
So yeah, a whopping 3.7% ABV.
Ooh, watch out.
Nitro poured, full of roasted malt deliciousness and English hops for an earthier edge. So
Cheers.
cheers.
Cheers, guys. Wow. So a little inside baseball while they're finishing their sips there. You guys all had a nice fresh pint of Donnybrook at dinner before we started this podcast, and so I'm kind of coming in as my, the first sip on the actual podcast, and God, I love that. Nitro Stouts just
They hit different.
yeah, they have a special place in my heart. Like just the mouthfeel, the creaminess, just the general softness of the beer.
Yeah. What I like about this is I've kind of been harping on it a lot lately is I'm really in that low ABV zone recently. You know, I've been really liking the low ABV beers, and I love a good stout, but you can only really have like one, maybe two stouts if you're feeling adventurous. But this is one that you could have a couple of them and you're not getting that bloat. You're not, it's not something that's crushing your palate. It's not, a huge roasted malt flavor.
Well, it's got that dry. Yeah, it's an Irish dry stout. It's very, somewhat light in body with what's kind of coming through, especially on my palate.
Yeah, and the nitro helps with that also. You're not, it's, less carbonation, so less harsh in your
Exactly.
stomach, less filling.
I think also, the lush quality of the way these beers are produced with the nitro supporting that as well is something that sort of throws the mind off because, we do tend to look at them as filling, but they're really only filling in the mouth. You can enjoy a fair amount of this in terms of volume, but your mind perceives them as something you should not drink a whole lot of. There's a conundrum that they set up.
I know we're live at Victory. I almost made a filling in the mouth joke right there, and I'm sorry. I was very close to being. I was like, "Oh man, we have a crowd out there. Never mind. This isn't in Tom's office doing a studio live show."
Oh my gosh, we don't mean to handcuff you guys. Come on.
So where did
I was like, "That's what you said."
Where did the recipe for this originate?
This is really pretty traditional. It's something that Ron and I just produced back when. Gosh, this is probably going back to 2003 or 4, and we, as I use the word traditional, we weren't really trying to stretch out and do anything all that different. The use of whole flower hops and the use of English hops, we believe, gave it sort of an earthier edge to the standard, which is Guinness, and we were proud to hang our hat on those small nuances.
Yeah, kind of having an ode to where it started to kind of where it is now, and it's nice. There is like an earthy floralness to like the hop character with this that I do enjoy, and then the roasted malt finish combined with the nitro, it's just an all around pleasant sip. And for somebody who may think, like you said, stouts might be heavy, this is something where I would say you could take a few rounds of, have a couple. And it's funny because it's called a Donnybrook, and a Donnybrook is kind of like a brawl. It's it's kind of funny that you could take a few rounds of this beer, and you guys called it a Donnybrook.
There you go. Dan's doing your marketing for you.
I can't believe we secured that name. It was just like hanging out there waiting for us.
I know, of all the like Irish themed names you could get for an Irish dry stout, nobody had Donnybrook.
Amazing.
So as far as the technicals about this go, the flavor is there. Like I said, it's not too heavy handed on any one aspect. Is very well balanced. Mouth feels there, obviously with the nitro. You're getting that nice creamy texture. Does have a little bit of that carb backbone to it. The lacing on the glass is really
look at that.
Good.
I got a zebra. I got zebra going down right here.
Good head. Really
Beautiful.
Good head retention on it. It's just really, really, really enjoyable.
One of the nuances of making stouts also, though, is how you incorporate your roast stout, or I'm sorry, your roast malt, because there's an acidic edge to a good stout that you need to incorporate, and that's, I believe, the easy place to miss the mark from a brewer's perspective. And I
can
think this
agree with
one
that.
has just enough sort of lactic sharpness to put it solidly in the style and separate it from some things that try and be that.
So Richie, we're in your new home.
Your new digs.
Yeah, this is you're in a home game here. So tell us how the transition from your R&D role and you were in Downingtown, right? Or you were in Parkersburg?
Parkersburg, Downingtown, and
Okay.
Kennett Square. So
Okay, so
it's
you
all
were-
over the place.
So now you're here. How's the transition been going from here? That your role there to here.
It's been great. This is honestly the best job I've ever had. There's, they gave me, a $500,000 brew house and just said, go for it. I have all the equipment, all the resources I need, all the backing from Victory as far as support, all the knowledge of all the, managers back at Parkersburg and Downingtown. And, I basically, can do what I want here. And I have the resources to do it. And it's been incredible.
Richie, I know Bill's right next to you, but blink twice if you need help. It's okay.
No, it's awesome. I've never worked in a brew pub like this, and it's very motivating. Like when I'm working and I look out and sometimes when you're working in a production brewery, you kind of miss, what you're working for. You're passionate about craft beer, but you might be in the cellar for 6 months at a time, and not see direct to consumer sales that why are you passionate about this? Where I get to see that every day. In the brew house, up at the bar, people are coming in, not just drinking, the Victory beers, but the beers that I made myself, and it's very motivating. Also, some days it's also unmotivating. Like my friends will be in here, it'll be a nice day out, and be like, this is very tempting.
I think you're the only one who actually had friends show up to this. None of our friends actually made it out here. I think I saw one of your friends flip you off earlier.
It's good, very fitting.
Yeah, I mean the whole facility is beautiful. I mean you have 2 floors, an outdoor area. It's just really incredible what you guys did with the space.
Yeah, I mean it's the graphics, the space, how the bars are set up, all the staff here, the kitchen staff, even when we first opened, I was here throughout the whole construction, the whole planning, and I was blown away. I was, we were doing so. It seems like we didn't skip a beat from when we opened, and it's very exciting to be a part of it.
I mean, the outdoor area. I know you guys haven't been open for the warm weather yet, but once that gets going, the outdoor, you guys are sitting on Logan Square. You got a view of City Hall. You got a view of the museum. It's really that area is going to be packed to the gills.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, if I jump in here on the outdoor space, it's kind of funny. Ron and I pulled a little bit of executive privilege because this really is Richie's brew house. It's his opportunity to interact with everyone who walks through our doors, learn what people are interested in, and brew those things. Brew the things that he's interested in, brew the things that other people tell him to. It's really, in a way, going back to 1996 in Downingtown when Ron and I were all ears and a bunch of malt sacks and a bunch of hop. But the thing I was going to say about being outside is he's got a Maibach in the tanks, and that makes Ron and I extremely happy.
Yeah,
you don't see too many
Maibachs
Maibachs out. So they both came up to me individually and asked for a Maibach, and I was thinking for maybe a week, I was like, how am I going to avoid this? I don't know. I want to brew a Maibach. And I thought about why am I not listening to them? These two created Victory, they clearly know what they're talking about. I need to brew a Maibach.
Well, one reason not to listen to us is how many people really like Maibachs, right? It's not the biggest
not yet.
style. Not yet. But yes, right here on the Parkway with ample outdoor space in the early spring, I think, you know what? We're going to bring Maibach back, baby.
I think springtime is Maibach season.
Yeah.
People, it's definitely a seasonal thing for us, I guess, in the beginning of spring. we get a lot of the German styles with like what's close to us, being in the Philly suburbs. We get a lot of the My Box and Box and Goats for that matter.
Yeah.
Well, that actually was the justification that we have outdoor dining space, because my box are designed to transition people from indoor to outdoor drinking in Germany in a season when Mother Nature isn't necessarily complying. So give everybody a golden beer, make it stronger so they don't really mind the chill, and give them a chance to be outside early.
I mean, you said who's ordering a Maybach, but me.
Cool.
I love a good Maybach.
I was going to
If I
say,
see that on
we're
the
raising
menu,
our
yeah.
hands to that.
Yeah.
I think we both lit up when we were taking a little tour of the brew area downstairs. And when he said, 2 weeks ago we did a Maybach, it's in a tank there, we all just went,
Yeah, if I'm going to do my Bach, I'm going to do it right. So we're going to actually lager it and, have it conditioned until May. So I'm excited for it to come out.
I like it. Yeah, taking up that
taking up some real
Yeah,
estate.
Yeah, it
down
takes a
there.
little fermenter. But we got, two customers right here. We got to find 998 more. We're ready to go.
So that's kind of a good transition here. Is it intimidating brewing beer that Bill and Ron are going to be tasting? I mean, they're like some of the OGs of craft beer around here.
I mean, I think it's exciting. It's an opportunity.
No
I think
pressure,
it's
Richie.
like to go on it and say that I would be scared to do it. Like there's home brewers and brewers all around the world that would probably, love to have Bill and Ron taste their beer and give their feedback. And, I get to do that on a weekly basis. So, it's a cool opportunity.
Well phrased. I mean, we don't hire people who are easily intimidated, and hopefully every step afterwards is just about encouragement and being part of the team to get it right.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting position that Richie's in, because I know in our first episode, when you're kind of explaining what your position was, doing the R&D, doing the experimental beers, it's not really something that gets associated with Victory. Victory was always that traditional style, traditional beers. You and Ron both have German backgrounds. So it was always that traditional style. And then when Richie's telling us, I'm doing a double dry hop prima pills, I'm doing, an IPA with the golden monkey yeast. It's cool. It's like you get to see these guys coming in and kind of taking a spin on what you guys had developed.
It was eye-opening seeing you highlighted it. We always thought of Victory as like, we always kind of coined this phrase, the old guard, of craft beer. You guys were like the tried and true, like you brought us into the fray and everything. And to see kind of this R&D department blossom to the point where you guys have a dedicated brew house now that's just doing doing these experimental beers. And it's just, I mean, for lack of a better term, it's awesome. It's awesome to see someone as big as Victory do something like this.
Well, everything has a life, right? And the things that don't evolve have a shorter life. And the tremendous energy that brewers like Richie and many, many others have brought into our organization has to be recognized and respected. We do want these things to evolve, these beers. There's certain things we want to keep consistent forever because they're nearly perfect as is. Yet at the same time, I mean, all of them are opportunities for evolution. And we should fully utilize those opportunities.
Oh, no, totally. And I kind of liked what Richie mentioned before, going from large production to the smaller scale, getting down to almost that kind of like artisan mindset now, where you're going back to this smaller scale where you can sit and do, hey, I have this idea for something that I'm passionate about, and you can do tests, and you have this kind of brew house to do that in, coming from like the production standpoint. And you mentioned before, I guess, when you were doing the R&D over in I guess the production facility, you had a smaller system there that you were doing stuff on, correct?
We did. It was a homebrew system. Very pimped out homebrew system that any homebrewer would die for. But yes, it was a half row system, a lot of stuff. On a larger production scale, yet I like the word artisanal that you said before, because Bill and I were talking about this before, where a lot of my stuff is very hands-on, and when you make beers larger in a larger facility, there's a lot more testing points, there's a lot more control points that you have, where on a smaller system, those things get closed out. So, on the stuff that I can control, I have to be totally in control of it. And, in the half barrel system, I love a half barrel system because, for better or worse, I do have to sell everything here.
Right.
So on the half barrel system, I might take some risks where, I don't know what this is going to be like, but, let me check. If it doesn't work, it's one keg. We're here. It's kind of like an in-between on that where, I get to do some stuff that's very cool and innovative. But I don't have to, make sure that this beer, is going to be like some production beer.
And I guess speaking of beers here, Donnybrook is a tap house only one here as well. Is this one that's
it's never been packaged, so you can't even get a growler full of it because of the Nitro service. So it really is an on-premise only thing to enjoy.
Is it only here at the tap house, or is it available at
Victory Taprooms?
Okay,
all Victory Taprooms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Taprooms.
Yeah, and we've heard from other breweries about like the trials and tribulations of like packaging Nitro and like having to get a separate like whole canning operation just to put that Nitro into the cans. And some of the, even at the smaller scale, just like what they have to go through to do that. So
I think this beer is made to be drinking in a pub, though.
But yeah,
This beer is
exactly.
made to be
An
drank
Irish dry
sitting at a
stout
bar.
like this. Yeah, this is a beer that hopefully doesn't lead to a Donnybrook in the bar, but I guess we can go into final thoughts. this was an all-around just well-balanced,
Oh yeah,
super approachable stout for anybody who's getting into craft beer and may have had a Guinness in the past, but wants to return to the style and try it. Try it at the craft beer level. Try it from Victory and see what it's all about.
Yeah, it's got excellent drinkability. It definitely has that return factor to where you can have a couple of them. Overall, it's just a well-rounded beer and perfect for, a holiday that might be coming up soon.
Mm-hmm. I love that term, return factor. It's a good one. So one of the things that I think we were also touching on is the perception of Victory as, an old guard brewery. It's true that when you go to a package store to purchase your beer, there's only certain varieties you're going to find at this point. You're going to find Golden Monkey, you're going to find Sour Monkey, you're going to find Dirt Wolf, and maybe that's it. But then you come to one of our tap rooms and you're staring at 24 Victory options plus a handful of affiliated brands. Mm-hmm. So it really is sort of a tale of two different operations for us. And this is what gives Richie tremendous leverage and opportunity because he gets to produce beers for a single location. And customers who visit here get to enjoy them on site and basically nowhere else. So I think that that's one of the things that is probably not current in people's perception of Victory is the taproom experience and how much innovation and amazing things are available to them.
Agreed. And especially coming out of the last 2 years and bringing the tap house mentality back. And Victory sitting, staring down the barrel of 24 taps over there, just sweating because I just want to try every single one. And it's nice to have that that feeling again after the last 2 years of not being able to have that tap house experience. You had to rely on packaged beer. Mm-hmm. So I guess Donnybrook is a testament to kind of bringing that tap house mentality back to breweries.
Yeah, you look at like what a lot of the cool hype breweries are doing right now. They're making sour beers, they're making lagers, they're making hazy IPAs. If you come in here, I would, do a matchup against any of our, lagers and sour beers against any of these other people. I think what we're doing is very impressive, and I think that people would like when they came in. They're going to be, surprised by all the offerings that we have here.
I can't even tell you how many brewers' ears lit up when we told them that we were having double dry hop Prima Pills.
When that was first, they were like, "Wait, what?"
Wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah, I know you guys don't like the big Untapped. But
what do we say about Untapped, Tom?
It has its time and its place, but it was ranked, top 10 Pilsner on Untapped last year. Now, that was the first year it came out. Just like I think there's a testament to, we do make amazing lagers here. And that's not me. I'm not working in production anymore. Those are my coworkers in Parksburg and Downingtown, and like they're all incredibly smart and talented, and I love our lagers. I have a keg of premium pills in my house. I would put our lagers up against anybody else in the area or the country.
I really think that the double dry hop Prima Pils was a testament. Excuse me, a testament to both Bill and yourself that Prima Pils is like a standard in the Pilsner category, and the fact that you were able to take that, innovate on it, and get people excited, like, oh, now he's doing this with with that beer that we all love so much. We get a different variation of it. That's exciting. So it's definitely a testament to both of you guys.
I mean, the whole thing, the production team crushed it. Or the graphics for the can art were amazing.
Yeah.
That's another thing where, we have incredibly talented graphic design team. And, when you get to see like what they put out, on the new fresh products, it's an awesome looking can.
And Tom, to your point, part of what we do as brewers is a large part of what we do is we deliver the same anticipated quality to the consumer time and time again, despite the fact that growing conditions and Mother Nature are giving us potentially radically different ingredients year over year. So for us who love Prima Pils inside the brewery walls, and for those who love it outside of the walls, making it the same over and over and over again is a fascination and a dedication that we believe in. But then to take that moment and say, okay, now we're going to do something different with it. But it's going to be very methodical. We're going to brew Prima Pils as a base beer, and then we're going to dry hop it with hops that we admire, don't use all that often, from the Southern Hemisphere, just to see where this would go.
Yeah, and I guess going back to the can design of that beer, before we move on to this next tasty beverage in front of me, you guys had like a number, I guess, associated with that version of Prima Pils. Are you guys going to be doing different variations of it with different hops?
Well, that's the number on the back of the small batch series. So that was the number 2 beer that came out, or number 3 beer that came out in the small batch series. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Are we brewing that again?
We are, and it's a very perceptive question on your part. So Richie answered it properly. That's just naming, numbering the series,
Okay.
the place in the series. Yet at the same time, because these hops are dry hops, we're not beholden to them. They're not the heart and the soul. They're the overlay.
Yeah.
And
So
I will tell you, when we R&D'd those beers, we tried it out with 4 or 5 different style combos of dry hops. That was the one that we selected, but we could have put any one of them out. They were all awesome. I've already put one out as the Parkway Pilsner here. It was very receptive, so I think we can continue to see those here.
So you can do. I'm excited for the New Zealand Prima Pils, and the Pacific Northwest Prima Pils.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I kind of had questions, and I didn't know if we were going to bring up dry hop Prima Pils, but that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Was that? But I guess.
So what? Yeah, what do we have in front of us?
What do we have in front of us right now? I've been dipping my nose in it.
This is Berry Monkey.
So this is the newest iteration in the Monkey series.
an infant, a couple weeks old.
Baby monkey.
Yeah, baby monkey. A very important distinction here with it is that it is the standard 9.5% of the monkey family, because we have, by testing things with our audience, we found that that's really part of the DNA that people appreciate. And so with Golden Monkey as one of the top-selling Belgian-style beers in the United States, and Sour Monkey as the top sour selling in the United States, there's some big shoes for Berry Monkey to potentially fill, but we're happy with this fuzzy little infant.
Right.
Well, cheers, guys.
Yeah, let's get into this.
Let's get into
Sláinte.
the baby monkey, baby berry monkey. Say that 5 times fast. So this is 9.5%.
Yeah, I think that's important to note here, where this is not, tastes like a 4% beer, but this is, you can crush this beer.
You can crush this beer, and that is dangerous.
But I've always felt like the Monkey series, dating back to Golden Monkey wasn't a crazy boozy over the top beer. It was very drinkable.
Very approachable. And I think what Bill said as we were kind of getting into this beer is the 9.5% being a part of this beer's DNA, and how I guess our table conversation during dinner kind of went, talking about like our exploits with Golden Monkey and how they've led to some amazing evenings and some terrible mornings.
Everybody has Golden Monkey stories. It's
Yeah.
just especially in this area.
I feel like everybody has had a great story that started with, so we had some Golden Monkey.
It was a beer that came out in a time where you weren't getting a ton of like high ABV beers and 6-packs.
4-packs they were in.
Were they 4-packs?
No, we were always 6-packs.
Yeah, they were 6-packs.
Yeah, it was always 6-packs.
So you weren't getting a ton of that, and it was a beer you can go down to the pizza shop and pick up, and it was probably the highest ABV beer there that wasn't in a bomber, and that was the thing, and it was everywhere.
Because nothing said food pairing like a pizza and a Belgian beer.
Pizza and a Belgian triple, yeah, for sure. Well, a couple of observations on the wonderful points you guys just made. For me, the Brewmeister's assignment is to make the alcohol as seductive as possible. And it's not because we're trying to get anyone in trouble. It's because our clientele enjoys flavor over effect. And, if you really do like the flavor of alcohol, well, there's Everclear out there. Go at it. But so we really, we try and make the alcohol seductive and palatable in the context of a traditionally flavored beer that tries to, is built for appreciation. The other thing that I think is remarkable about sort of the monkey experiences that you kind of touched on is that, Richie and I, and please jump in at any moment, but I feel that we're very, very fortunate in the careers that we have and the opportunities we have, because when we go to work thinking that we're just going to make great flavors out of great quality ingredients for people to enjoy, the fact of the matter is those things are served. Those things are served to people who bring their friends, their family. The conversation ensues, pictures are taken, jokes are made and everything. So at the end of the day, we think we're making liquid, but we're actually helping people make memories. And that's the coolest job you could ever possibly have.
Yeah, it's really well put.
Yeah, Bill the wordsmith over here. I got goosebumps when he said making the beer seductive. I was like, ooh. I was like, man, Bill.
Yeah, keep talking dirty to me.
I mean, he did give me dinner first, but man.
No flowers, though, so.
So, Dan, let's talk about the beer here.
Yeah, so right off the bat, we both agreed 9.5%. It's hidden. It's very seductive. Mm-hmm. I love the berry flavor. Like, what kind of berries did you guys go into, like, with this beer to choose in the brewing process?
It's skewed toward raspberry.
That's what I thought. Okay.
I think there's a few in there, but it's definitely skewed towards raspberry.
And it comes through as like a fresh, more tart berry, where not like you're just slopping a bunch of puree in there with some sugar and making it like a sweet kind of beer. It's I think it really complements the Belgian style.
There's an underlying, like, I wouldn't say like a little bit of clove, a little bit of banana kind of the Belgian kind of coming in at the end on your palate, kind of sitting there after like the initial sour hit.
Yeah, definitely still in the monkey family. It's not some, another 9.5% beer that we made. It definitely still has, that monkey backbone, that golden sour monkey share.
So is this part of the sour monkey series, or is it a gold monkey series?
I don't know if there is a different. I think it's just the monkey series.
Okay. I mean, is it sour? Is it?
It's definitely sour. It's not as sour as Sour Monkey, but it's definitely a sour beer.
So with the Sour Monkey, do you kettle sour that?
Yes.
You kettle sour it with the Belgian yeast?
It's kettle sour to begin with, then fermented with the West Malt Belgian yeast. So this guy is interesting. When measured after fermentation, it ends up being 20% less acidic than Sour Monkey.
Oh, wow.
So that was the reason for my questions, because it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have that kettle sour acidity to it.
But I think that if you were to drink it side by side with Sour Monkey, you would probably find them remarkably similar on that base level as well. That was actually the toughest part of this assignment because it has golden, it has sour, and it has to represent a new flavor on top of it. So there was,
So like just to go through like the basic flavors: bitter, sour, sweet, umami. So like making a good beer, you want to balance some of those out to make it drinkable. So maybe the Sour Monkey skews more towards sour. This with the fruit addition maybe bends that a little bit closer to the sweeter side. Then with the lower acidity,
Okay.
Makes it maybe perceive sweeter than it is sour.
Which I mean, I think you did a really well job, or really well done job.
Really well job.
Really well job.
You did a good
Really
job.
well done job of achieving that umami factor. That you mentioned, because I was expecting to get a very tart, kettle soury kind of beer.
A little bit hitting the adenoids.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, it's very soft. It has a freshness to it. Like it tastes like fresh fruit, where it's not overly artificial. It's not artificial at all. It has that fresh flavor to it, but it still has that Belgian backbone.
The most seductive 9.5% beer I've ever had.
You may recall that we barrel aged Golden Monkey in white wine Chardonnay barrels and released it as the White Monkey, and that was 2003. But really, what we learned there was that the Monkey was a fantastic base to overlay other flavors. Now, Sour Monkey was a little bit more of open heart surgery, where we were really working with the actual fermentation process and really reconstructing the beer from the base up. But now as we go into Berry Monkey, it's a little bit more of the mindset of how can we enhance, what can we overlay, and how do these flavors work together? Because we would hope that this beer would give you a different ride than the other monkeys, meaning the berry comes first, the sour comes next, and then at some point you think, wow, this is a lot like a Golden Monkey as well.
No, that's a very good description of the entire tasting notes I'm kind of receiving, with every sip. And I also, as you were talking about it, I also thought about the approachability of this beer too, because I mean, we all know, and sours are big right now, especially fruited sours, and to have something like this in the ring kind of makes the Monkey series approachable to those people who are into the fruited beers. Like, what kind of fruited beers do you guys have? And this is something that you can kind of sneak in there. People will enjoy it, and they will have no idea that it's part of the Monkey series, and they probably don't even know about the Monkey series.
Yeah, as a brewer, I like all types of beers. There's some beers that we make where I'm like, I don't think people are going to like this, but this is my favorite beer. Maybe it's more bitter than normal, or it has this noble hop character that just some people just aren't into that type of flavor. But, when you drink this beer, you're I can see a lot of people that maybe aren't traditional beer drinkers could still drink this beer. And then, traditional beer drinkers as well can appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's a very, very approachable beer. So, Dan, we have Bill here.
I know. And to be honest, I am so impressed, and I just want to give props to Tom that he hasn't accidentally mentioned a Trogs beer instead of a Victory beer. I thought he was going to get so nervous that he'd mentioned the wrong beer.
The night is young.
Yeah, I just downed that.
I know he just had a 9.5% beer. He might just go into a Troganator diatribe and be like, Tom, it's the wrong brewery. Come on.
Hey, this is Joe Rogan, right?
We're not canceled yet.
So tell us, give us a little backstory of, how you became a titan of craft beer.
Look, I'm throwing titles around.
The titan of craft beer. So sometime in 1979, my father, who was extremely resourceful because he grew up in hard conditions in the coal regions post-Depression. So he was a gardener, canner, pickler, sauerkraut maker, decided that he was going to start making beer. And I was his apprentice on every project, whether it was cabinetry or concrete work. So one day the assignment was beer. and I did everything he told me to do, and I had mild interest in it. And then 5 years later, or in 1985, as a graduate of Temple University, I had a different appreciation of beer. And so I took up his kit and gave one to Ron, and we just started following our passion. I worked at the time then as a graphic designer and art director. Ron was working in financial and cost analysis, and eventually home brewing kind of took over our lives. We took apprentice jobs at the Baltimore Brewing Company, sadly defunct in 2003, and learned under a German-trained Dutch brewmaster. Then both went to schools in Germany, Ron at Weinstefan, myself at Doman's, and we convinced our wives to let us write a business plan, and on New Year's Eve of 1993, 94, and the rest was kind of fumbling around until Richie joined us.
Oh man, that's high praise over there, Rich.
I'll take it.
So I mean, I think we mentioned when we were at the table that Dan and I kind of grew up with Victory.
I mean, we turned 21 in 2007, 2008, was it? I believe. It's like, I guess when we were
Math
able.
is not good for shows.
No,
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah, 2007. Yeah, 2007 sounds right.
Yeah.
So at the time when we start drinking craft beer, it's Victory, Trogs, Sly Fox. Those are the
big
three options. Yards was in there, peppered in there a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit of stouts maybe from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was regional for us, especially. I mean, we got yards every now and then because it started trickling out to us. But yeah, we primarily started being so close proximity to Phoenixville and Downingtown. It was it was Victory and Sly Fox, and then getting Trogs every now and then. So like that's where and we've talked about it ad nauseum on this podcast about the big three, the old guard, and like we had just so much admiration and like every single story of like our craft beer upbringing. Victory is like it's name dropped almost all the time, and
Baltic Thunder, Storm King, Dirt Wolf,
just nights by the fire, 21 years old, listening to fun, heavy music and drinking good beer.
So I turned 21 in 2014, and it was the same thing, only different beers. For me it was Summer Love, it was Sour Monkey. It was
I feel so old.
But probably the same experiences you had, where Victor's been a staple here, for so long.
My back just started hurting when you said that.
Yeah, but the one thing I'll just interject is the point of pride I have in having been a part of your introduction to craft beer. Each and every one of you. It's an honor and a privilege, right? I often think that if I had been born at a different time and had been a devious person, I would have been a drug dealer rather than a beer maker, because I love seeing people have new experiences. And one is a lot more benign than the other. So, creating new beer flavors for people to appreciate is, as I said, an honor and a privilege.
Man, how close were we to having a strain of weed just called Golden Monkey? you guys trying to get that Golden Monkey, dog? We were so close.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's still time. We'll get a Victory dispensary at some point.
Wow.
I mean, it's becoming more popular in Pennsylvania, so only time can tell.
So it's interesting because, like we said, we're growing up with you guys, Trogs, Sly Fox. For a long time, Victory was traditional styles, and it goes back to your German brewing background. It was a lot of that German influence, and it's great to see you guys getting into, and I think it goes a lot with the as we like to call the old guard.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked to Sly Fox. When we talked to Sly Fox, they were just starting to put hazies in a can to put out the distribution.
Right.
So it's like it's very cool to see these, again, old guard breweries not just rest on their laurels and kind of innovate with the time, keep up with what the trends are. I mentioned when I went into Kennett Square 3 years ago and saw Cloudwalker on the board, and I was like, all right, they're doing in New England, cool.
Here?
So
Well, I guess, in those terms, is we've always recognized that we were brewing for an audience outside of ourselves. So having our tap rooms and having the engagement with our audience always opened our minds to new opportunities, ones that we ourselves may not have selected. And then it becomes an assignment, a project. You want to try and figure out what's going to make that person happy and what's going to make you happy simultaneously. And that's the engagement that our tap rooms offer us. And that's the admiration we have for our audience. So, even though you can look at Victory as having initially delivered traditional beers, if you look at our Hop Devil, which was really our first commercial success, it was an English style of beer, originally, IPA. It was brewed with a backbone of all German malts, and it was hopped with whole flower American hops. So it really did epitomize what Ron and I were trying to do in taking European traditions and European knowledge and synthesizing that into something for a new audience, an emerging audience, ourselves included, that would be delivered much more fresh than an import could ever do. So it was kind of a reset on what imports were in America, and that would be our version of craft when we came out of the gates.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking to your point there, what Hop Devil was to you was kind of like almost what Dirt Wolf was to me. When Dirt Wolf came out, I was knee deep in bitter IPAs. That's all I ever wanted. And you guys put out Dirt Wolf, and that was just, I was like, thank you. I wasn't gonna go through this podcast without bringing up how much I love Dirt Wolf and how much all of my friends have had many, like, we've had Golden Monkey nights evolve into Dirt Wolf nights.
Sure.
I have a buddy that's still everywhere he goes. If Dirt Wolf's on tap, that's what he's ordering.
Yeah.
Dirt Wolf's hard to beat. I have a great affinity for it, and it's always in my refrigerator. How about you, Richie?
I mean, it's in my fridge. Yeah, I like Dirt Wolf. I'm a little bit younger than you guys, so I think when I came
really?
in, the
Summer love.
Yes, exactly. So the bitter wars, so called, where everyone's trying to make as bitter a beer as possible, were kind of like coming to an end.
See, Tom, I
And
didn't bring it up first. He did.
It was, people were, that was like the start of everyone starting to make the hazy IPAs. So, not that I dislike it. It's just, my life, growing up, like I've always skewed more towards the, hazier, juicier IPAs.
So what are we drinking next here?
This is Braumeister. So I know that.
This is the one I've been waiting for.
Yep. So I might let Bill talk about this because he is the Braumeister.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'll just give the generals on it actually, and toss it back over to you. So we, when we introduced Prima Pils in 1997, we had a handful of beer wholesalers working with us, and they were very excited to get another bottled offering for us. And when I told them it was a Pilsner, they're like, no thanks. And their point was well taken. At the time, Miller Lite was advertising itself as the true taste of a genuine Pilsner beer. J.W. Dundee's Honey Brown, something Richie may have never even experienced, said on the label Pilsner beer. And so our partners in distribution were saying to us, you're walking into some really muddy waters with not nearly the marketing budget that these other companies have. This looks like a disaster. But Ron and I love Pilsners, and we were somewhat stubborn, so we went ahead with Prima Pils, and New York Times panel called it the best Pilsner in the world in 2006. And even going into that, it definitely had gotten traction. So Braumeister Pils was our opportunity to do all the things that had been cut short because of our success with Prima Pils. So you want to talk about Braumeister a bit?
Yeah, so Braumeister, how I perceive it, is almost a premium version of Prima Pils, or a different version. So this is 5.5, Prima's 5.2. This is a single hop Tettnang, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, we've done single hops. We did
rotating single
rotating single hops of different, German noble hops. I believe you and Ron maybe have gone over and done some hop selection for that.
Ron has done so on multiple occasions, yeah.
So this is just a different version of, I guess, our traditional Pilsner. So we talk about, Victory being a very traditional brew house or brewery, and you're seeing, these, cool new breweries now, basing their entire business off of lagers, and like we've been doing this now for 20 years. And I think that this is a kick-ass Pilsner that can go up against, a lot of other ones. And being a single hop, you get the true flavor of Tettnang, which is, an awesome hop.
All right, boys. Slancha.
Cheers,
Cheers.
Prost.
I've been just taking little baby sips over here while you guys have been talking about this, like just enamored with Tettnang. As soon as you said single hop Tettnang, I was like, just back here sipping on it.
Yeah, so if you taste this, against Prima Pils, so Prima Pils does have Tettnang in it, but
Yeah.
You can definitely tell the difference between this and Prima Pils to kind of pull out that Tettnang flavor.
It's got a bite to it.
Yeah, it's got that peppery characteristic that I always associate with noble hops. To me, this tastes very reminiscent of like a Pilsner Urquell. It has that noble hop coming through that kind of gives you that, like Richie said, that premium feeling.
Premium, yeah.
Yeah, it's just tastes like a craft Pilsner.
Well, no one has to agree with me, so I'm happy to hear the dissenters. But I feel that this is a softer version of Prima as well, and that's always been the intent, meaning that the hops fold into the malt and reveal the malt a little bit more quickly than you would get in the Prima Pils.
Okay.
Yeah, with I think a little bit higher ABV, maybe there's a little bit of alcohol sweetness in there that balances out a little bit more. Where the Prima is, we talk about balance, but the Prima is showcasing the hops, the German noble hops in there. Where this is more of a balanced version of the Pilsner.
Yeah, now that you say that, like folding into the malt is a very good characteristic of this beer on the sip. And I think with Prima Pils, you get a little bit more floral character out of the hops. With this, like you said, it folds into that malt, and I think with the higher ABV, you get a little bit of a bite with the malt backbone on this one, as opposed to like the floral characteristics of the hops and Prima Pils, kind of being the MVP of that stuff of that one.
Sure, and Prima, is a little bit more multidimensional in that there's 4 hop varieties featured in that, and now we're down to a single hop. So you kind of do get that transition to be a little bit quicker, perhaps even a little bit more smooth.
Yeah. This is definitely nice. It's soft, like you said, soft on the palate. It's got a really nice carbonation bite to it. It's got a little, I like to call it a little zip, right on the right on the front of the palate there. That first sip. This is a really, really, really enjoyable beer.
The old sip zip. Got it, huh?
It's got pizzazz.
So you kind of got into it a little bit. I usually ask, our guests that we have on, their desert island beer. Kind of what beer. If you had one beer to drink for the rest of your life, what would it be? I'd like to do a little variation on that. If you had to drink a victory beer, one victory beer for the rest of your life.
I like this variation.
What would it be?
Oh my gosh. So I have to leave the island where all my children are with only one. As tough as of an assignment as that sounds, I am going to go for Prima Pils. The reason being is historically that's by volume the victory beer I've enjoyed the most, which tells me there's something attracting me to it over and over again. And when I dissect what that is the incredible balance of hop excitement and comfort and resolution to the beer. And I guess in my world, beer only has to do 2 things. It's got to be exciting and it's got to provide comfort. And the excitement in Prima Pils is in the hops, and the evolution of the flavor, and the comfort is in how it resolves.
It's interesting because we always say that a Pilsner is a brewer's beer. Whenever we talk to these brewers, you ask them what their favorite kind of beer is, and it's 9 times out of 10 it's Pilsner or lager.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So I gave you
Richie. What was your desert island beer? I feel like it was Prima Pils too.
Yeah, I mean, I have a keg of that at my house.
Yeah, I was like, oh god, that's exactly what he said. I was trying to go back to the previous episode, and it's so funny because you guys are like on the same level here. It's like Richie gets to talk to Richie in the future every time. You come in.
I mean, it's great.
A
I
looper.
mean, we talked about the, we like low ABV beers. I mean, I love high ABV beers, but, I love drinking beer. So if I'm going to be on an island, I'm drinking one beer. This is perfect ABV level, lots of flavor. It's always fresh. Very enjoyable.
And it's just so interesting how Pilsner and Lager have made such a resurgence to, the forefront. And like Richie had said, there are breweries that are, they're making, they're, you have one right around the corner at Human Robot that is making they're making their name off their lagers. So, you have our buddies at Breweries in PA are, they kind of coined the year of the lager.
Yeah, the term for 2022, and they're just beating it into the ground with every post. Year of the lager, and I mean there is so much validity to it. I think people have been burned out by the IPAs. The IPAs still have their place. They keep the lights on for a lot of breweries, but people are searching out the lagers now.
Well, that is a funny thing, right? I mean, like when something becomes adopted and becomes widespread and everybody loves it, they also get off the train at the same stop, right? When it becomes old for everybody. And by no means are IPAs in any form old at this point. But I do believe there is a tremendous opportunity for lagers. And I think the other thing, too, that we might be overlooking is the folks that are probably having the most success with them are primarily breweries that are serving them in the taproom format, right? So, I mean, a lager doesn't, even though it's conditioned extremely well, it doesn't necessarily travel all that well. And I think that it is the taproom on-premise setting where these things really shine so beautifully. So
Amen.
I think that we're seeing a couple of things that are, we really need to dissect these different trends because one doesn't necessarily influence all the others.
No, agreed. And you made a great point there. Nothing is better than a lager that's just fresh out the tap house. Like I've had tons of
cold.
Yeah, I've had so many lagers in cans where I'm like, yeah, this is great. But when you have it at the tap house, and those breweries that do have that tap house mentality and are doing it fresh, and we mentioned them earlier. Right now with like Human Robot, like that tap house mentality, they've made lagers a novelty down there. They're bringing the side pool to the forefront. Everybody's adopting them in the area because they're doing it. So
milk tubes
are the service style. I mean, they're really doing everything they can to express that on-premise opportunity, and that's fantastic. That's innovation.
But it's also, I mean, if you haven't had like a Miller Lite off of it might be sacrilege to our listening audience. But
how dare you?
A Miller Lite off a copper coil tap. I mean, that's nothing. Just
it hits.
Yeah, it's just like an outer worldly cold.
I had a Pabst off of an old like copper tap at a very old bar, and man, did it just hit! It was so.
I think there's also it's a whole new generation of craft beer drinkers now. Where I'm at an age where craft beer's always been in my life. Like when I turned 21, craft beer was already enormous. So craft beer when Victory started, the innovative thing was Hop Devil. Making an IPA with English hops and American hops and English malt. Was like very innovative. And like it went then into like the bitter wars. And then it went to the hazy IPAs, and then now like the smoothie sours, where we've almost come full circle now, where like people are, because craft beer has been in the customer's life this entire time, they're like almost coming back to then the traditional and like kind of respecting the process of like how this stuff is made and like seeing the balance in these these beers that have been drinking for hundreds of years. They held up over the course of time because they weren't something so innovative that it had to die or get off at a certain stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's one thing that we've had kind of beaten into us over the course of our podcast. But when we started out, it was the haze craze. It was flavored IPAs and double how high alcohol content can we get, double, triple IPAs, and then we're talking to brewers and what's your favorite, and they're like, oh, I like a good Coors,
Yep.
a good banquet beer or Miller Lite,
Right.
Keller Pills.
and it's like, it's like, and they're like, well, it's just so well made, and it's you have to appreciate the work that goes into a Pilsner or a lager.
Yeah.
It's a process to make that beer, that, and it's something that you talked about earlier is, it's not really cool to like Miller Lite or Budweiser, but the fact that it's the same every single time, that consistency, you get a Prima Pils, it's going to taste like a Prima Pils. That's a difficult thing to achieve, is that consistency in beer like that.
Yeah, I mean, to your observation, I would say that, it gets back to what I had said earlier about how beer really only has to provide two things: excitement and comfort. And, the comfort aspect of it is something we probably crave more than we actually recognize. We get excited about the excitement, right? Big floral nose, glitter in the beer, whatever. And that is exciting, and it drives us forward. But at the, in the final analysis, we really want the comfort of it. And I think that's important. And, while I literally have the mic here, I'll give you sort of the perspective of the oldest guy in the room here at 58. But what you're talking about in the evolution of the craft beer consumer and the evolution of craft beer, it was kind of easy for some of us to see in the early stages of the game, because when Ron and I started homebrewing in 1985 and got into the business, just 10 years later, you basically had a battlefield of beer, and on it was lined up the few remaining domestic big brewers. And on the other side were these crazy guys like Ken Grossman of Sierra Nevada and Jim Cook of Boston Beer. And, one was making rustic, exciting, hoppy beers, and the other ones were making the industrial stuff that the audience up to that point had wanted. Yet in the middle was the big prize. That was the fat, rich ground where these two things could evolve to. And I think, from where we are today, we're kind of reaching that middle ground where people can appreciate everything that's in the middle, that has attributes of both, but has now been elevated by higher quality because craft brewers made it frickin' happen.
Amen.
Yeah,
it's the wordsmith of the night right here.
I know. I could spend
Tom,
all night
I can't tell.
listening.
Does he have note cards under there? Has he been just? I feel like he had
Keeps
that
looking at
speech
his
like
hand.
queued up.
All right, so let's get into this real quick. What are we drinking here?
This is Imperial Cloudwalker.
I have just been snorting lines of this over here. Just as you guys have been talking about the love of lagers, I'm over here just as the resident haze boy of this podcast, just snorting this beer over here.
Yeah, so as we just went on a 10-minute diatribe about all these traditional beers, here's a 9.6% hazy IPA with lactose in it, and Citron Mosaic.
Cheers.
All right, boys.
Cheers.
Slancha.
My.
Well, Richie, your sequencing has been phenomenal. That's a great thing to come home to.
Yeah, I mean, you're following up the Pilsner with this really lovely double IPA. Double IPA?
Double,
Imperial,
triple, whatever you want to call
Imperial.
it. It's 9.6%.
Yeah.
It really super juicy. Really reminiscent of that New England style. You get that nice citrus flavor to it, soft mouth feel. Really, I mean, it doesn't drink like an Imperial at all.
I mean, if you gave me this and told me it was orange juice, I would, I'd probably question you how old it is. But
I wasn't gonna say orange juice, but
I feel like I just watched a table of 12 down these beers over there. Like there were a bunch of 20-somethings that were sitting here earlier, and they were just downing hazies. And I'm like, it was probably this Imperial because the way that they all got up, and I was like, they went Cloudwalker. They went Cloudwalker on this one.
Yeah, this is definitely that. It's that like Lawson's Sip of Sunshine, treehouse kind of style where it's just that very juicy. This is hype beer territory. Um, great coloring. It's just all around one of the better Imperial IPAs I've had recently.
I'm so upset that Yankee Candle hasn't come out with a hazy IPA candle yet. just on the nose is, I think I enjoy hazy IPA. I love hazy IPAs, but I think I enjoy them more when like my nose just dips in. I just like just the citrus smells that you get off of it. I mean, I would put that in a Febreze in my car in a second.
That's a great observation. I can't believe that Yankee Candle hasn't done that. What the heck?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at most hazy IPAs in the market, most of them have probably 95% of them have either Citra or Mosaic in them. This is entirely Citra and Mosaic.
It's the buddy cop of hazy IPAs. You got your Riggs and your Murtaugh, and they go together.
There's some Instagram accounts out there that put up it's like a Hallmark movie mosaic and it's just Citra and Mosaic and citrus, Citra and Mosaic. It's just it's hilarious. But we digress. The beer is fantastic. So, Bill, as the more traditional brewer, the old guard, what are your thoughts on the hazy IPAs and a beer, the New England style IPA?
Well, I think, history bears it out that we sat by the sidelines as this trend, burst onto the scene. And we also did the same thing in double IPAs. Our Hop Wallop, when it came on, was a little bit late, and we didn't even call it a double IPA. We called it a very hoppy ale. So we were being a little bit cheeky then, and we were being less cheeky this time because the original New England IPAs, in our minds, were kind of a backdoor solution to tap rooms that were trying to move beers really, really quickly. They were hazy for reasons other than design. And then as brewers were challenged to produce these things for shipment, we started to see some ideas coalesce that we said, okay, now we can play in this. This is now getting to be a little bit more of the thing that we like to do. Break something down, analyze it, and come up with the superior, if possible, version of it. And that's when we began the process, and the initial landing point was Cloudwalker.
So what goes into the process of making a hazy in the style of Victory?
Really sort of modulating things, modulating the consumer expectations, modulating the biases of the old guys like Ron and myself, and bringing in the new voices into our brewing team in order to help bridge that gap and come up with these things that work well.
I feel like that's everything you said as kind of Tom introduced, your thoughts on like the haze craze and the hazy IPA, and how Victory approached it was very similar to when we asked the same question to some other traditional breweries. How kind of sitting on the sidelines looking at it and like evolving and testing it, and talking to Richie before and his R&D department, how much testing goes into making you guys have a name out there. So when you get into this haze craze, you need to make a name. You need to keep that name out there.
There's also expectations that go along with it. It's Victory is thought of as you're the upper echelon of craft beer, and those expectations will be high if you're going to put out a hazy IPA. Where, like you said, a lot of bigger breweries were kind of resisting it. We've talked to multiple people that were like, it was thought of as a fad. It was going to go away. There's a reason it's not in the BJCP because it hasn't been updated in 6 years now. But, it was thought of that wasn't going to be there. And then when did GABF introduce
category?
Hazy category.
Well, GABF now has like 12 different hazy IPA categories.
Yeah.
They went from having none to like 12 in like 2 years.
Yeah, it's insane how one style. And I think it's just the American IPA in general, if we're going to go to the BJCP, how the American IPA just exploded into like the West Coast, the hazy, and the New England separating itself from the hazy, because when you talk about Lawson's and you talk about Alchemist, there's no haze there.
Right.
And like
Yeah.
those
Drink
are
straight from the can.
Yeah, drink straight from the can. Those were like the sought after New Englands, and then the haze craze came from that, but made a name for itself where some breweries don't even call them New Englands anymore; they call them hazes.
Yeah, I think the point you were making about, perhaps the pressure to play in the sandbox or avoid the sandbox and dismiss the sandbox. Um, I'll let Richie finish the sentence, but I don't think we create pressure on anyone but ourselves here. I think we're very open in terms of getting to new solutions to satisfy existing and new customers.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, I think a lot of these breweries that are putting out hazy IPAs, part of the appeal is that they're putting out new IPAs every single week. Where like maybe they're not the same, not that they're the same IPA labeled differently, but a hazy IPA could be very similar to another type of hazy IPA. It's one type of style. So like, yes, they're putting out 12 new beers, but they're all very similar. So it wouldn't make sense for a brewery our size with a distribution channel or our
Right.
size to be making new brands like that. It just wouldn't be economical.
And those breweries don't have an R&D department that's where the beer is getting tasted by a panel of people.
Their entire brewery is an R&D department.
Right.
and just like we're talking about like these other breweries that are making these lagers or these other beers that are these smoothie sours that are coming out now, they're like, maybe it makes sense in a tap room to do that, because it's fresh and it can't go bad and all these other things.
Can't blow up in the trunk of your car.
Exactly. So the same thing about putting out new brands. A tap room like this is like the perfect opportunity then for us to then jump right back into this and just be pumping out new, hazy IPAs every week.
And I think it goes to just the standard that's expected of Victory. You think of Victory and you think of there's a standard of quality. It's going to be a quality beer. And that's why you have your R&D department.
Yeah,
that's why you have your
we make
panel
those
tasting.
investments so that the consumer isn't taking a giant risk
Right.
when they come to the beer.
Yeah. Victory has gotten to the point where you don't need to be pumping out a new IPA every week.
And I hope for everyone listening, ourselves included, that none of this conversation sounds dismissive of these other models and these other approaches, because I think that's the beautiful thing about craft beer is like every entrepreneur who was a brewer showed up at a race and the starting trigger was pulled and we all ran down a different path. It was never a race against one another. It was just basically a race sort of built upon our own parameters, our own priorities, and who we were going to be addressing and who we were going to be satisfying. So, there's plenty of room for all these models. They're wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. I still enjoy all of them. I still go out and support all those.
Oh yeah, it was never meant as a slight.
I would say this whole episode's been just like viewing these trends on an analytical standpoint.
Yep. I mean,
especially since I'm looking at what we're staring down the barrel of for the next beer.
We've done 100. This is our 106th episode. I think we've done like 104 episodes with the breweries that are putting out an IPA every other week. So, we have a great appreciation.
And that's where
for that.
real vitality is.
I've always said I'm the hop master. I love IPAs. I will have every single one, but I have great appreciation for lagers. I love lagers too. It's just that, I grew up in that time where IPAs were, it was the hype that got me hooked on craft beer. I mean, stout, I would say, stouts and IPAs. Yeah. I mean, even Baltic porters.
I mean, we've talked about a lot on the podcast, but I think while Dan was just getting into the IBU wars.
I didn't want to say it. I know he said the bitter wars over there. So I let Richie take that one.
But I
say it too much.
We started out drinking the Rogue Dead guys, the Broken Brawlers, Yards Brawlers, the Storm Kings, the Troganators, the darker beers. We wanted the darker stouty because that was the cool thing. Sitting by a fire, everyone's drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon. Dan and I are sitting there with, glasses full of black.
Yeah, I mean, you had to hang out with my metal friends, so that's what, like, we'd sit around the fire listening to heavy music. I'm like, we're gonna drink a dark beer.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's a great vision of having a good time.
So what do we have in front of us now?
So, Tom, what
This is our final tasting here.
A final beer. I'm sorry, I'm not sending you guys away on a ship like I did last time. So this is Bromberry Goza. So this is a Goza I made here, and then put a ton of blackberry puree in it. So this is our blackberry Goza. Bromberry Goza, our Kirsch Goza. Bill and I talked about this earlier. It's one of my favorites of mine. It's a cherry Goza. So I love that style. I wanted to brew something similar to that. So Bromberry Goza.
Great. I love it. All right.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Sláinte.
Tom, it's not beer colored. I'm sorry. Oh, my.
Wow. I'm a for as much guff that I give sour beers, I love a Goza. I've always been drawn to a Goza, and I think it's because I prefer more of a salty than a sweet. And this is right in line with that. I was waiting for that nice salt kick, and you get it right up front. It's
You ticked all the boxes,
Yeah.
Richie.
It's definitely a Goza, and it has that berry that is not overwhelming, and I think that kind of goes with the theme of what you were doing with the berry monkey as well. Is that it's not up front. It's true to style, and you get that a little bit of an extra in there by having that flavor kick. This is a beer that I would happily down a 4-pack of.
Yeah, like I talked about earlier, how I love this job. It's like, I have the freedom to, play in the sandbox here, but, I have Victory, behind me. I have all the support system. I have all the knowledge, the empirical knowledge of all the people that have, brewed here before me. So having the team, a full quality assurance team, a full, cellar team that's been making, the #1 selling sour beer in the country, and now Berry Monkey, Kirsch Goza, all these other kick-ass sour beers. This beer, I was on the phone with people for hours trying to figure out what was the best way to make this on this system with what I had. So I had all these experts that I was talking to that are right at the tips of my fingers. I'm proud of this beer. I'm happy with it. I think this is beer that I can keep playing in the sandbox with. I can put some other fruits in it.
I think Richie did a really cool thing with this as well, because it's I would call it somewhat of a seasonally transitional Goza. The body and the heft of it is a little bit more substantial than what you really typically get in a really dry, summer appealing Goza. So I think that he chose his moment so wonderfully as well in order to express this beer as is. It's a really great way to move from dark winter weather into spring weather, and I appreciate that aspect of it. I think he chose his moment perfectly.
Agreed. And to highlight, I think, Tom, you kind of touched on it a little bit. There's a balance. There's just an impeccable balance to this beer with the Goza, with the berry, the classic salinity that goes with the Goza, and then there is a body to it that ends on a very nice body after the initial berry and the salt. It ends with a nice body that I would say is a good transitional beer for the season. This is kind of the prelude to the spring and the summer. It's nice weather, for 3 hours out of the day, and it gets cold again. Go enjoy a Goza.
Yeah, this is. I hope this isn't just kind of a one and done thing, because this is the first sip. I was like, man, I want to be drinking this on the beach in Sea Isle.
And he's the toughest crowd when it comes to fruited anything.
But I think it's a Goza first and a fruited beer second.
Yeah,
it has that
balance.
Yeah, exactly, balance. It's got that great the great thing about Gozas is it's not super acidic like a kettle sour. It still has that very refreshing factor to it. Like I said, the salt. I love the salt that comes with a Goza. I feel like it's a very underrated style. Um, it's something I think it's a perfect beach beer, but that's just me. I
You
like
also drink like Imperial stouts on the beach,
that
like
was
a walrus.
Yeah, that was one time, and it was a crowler.
He drank a 32-ounce Imperial stout on the beach.
12% stout.
Sounds like a good time.
He woke up the 6 lifeguards with a tarp under him, trying to bring him back to the sea.
I felt like Danny DeVito at the end of was it Batman?
Batman is 2.
Was it Batman Returns?
Yeah, it was Batman.
I had just the black oozing out of me, like wah, wah, wah.
Like 6 lifeguards carrying you, just dumping just buckets of water on you. We'll get you back to the ocean, little buddy.
But Goza, like I said, it's that underrated style that I think it's very approachable. It's great. It's super refreshing, very drinkable. ABV is typically not too high on these.
This is 5.1%.
So yeah, super. You're right in that session area. It's not. You don't get that. You hear somebody say, "Oh, I dumped a bunch of puree in this," and you think it's going to be sweet, but you just get that berry characteristic from it.
So part of that, it is the balance. Like puree, I did add a ton of puree. Puree is very sweet, but it had the salt and it had the sourness. So like those things balance themselves out. And like what we were saying with like the hazy IPAs, where I can like keep putting out new beers. This is a beer this could be a stepping stone beer. So next week I'm gonna brew a spicy marg sour beer. So I took aspects of this before I added the puree. I saw aspects of it that I could change. And I think that I can, go after, some other crazy type of beer, that I can adjust what I did here on the next beer.
Yeah, love to hear it.
And that's also a good statement on the equipment and the brew house that is here for Richie. It really, as he alluded to earlier, it's very much an artisan's setup. It's very hands-on. It's state of the art and where it needs to be in terms of quality assurance and capabilities. But it allows him a lot of latitude to continue to create iterations upon things that he's learned from. And that's the opportunity that we've built here in our Philadelphia taproom.
Yeah, our first beer here, we did a Munich Dunkel. Bill was kind enough to come down and brew with me. Right before I mashed in, I was like having a panic attack. I was like, I think everything is
brewing a Munich Dunkel with Bill.
Yeah, I was like freaking out. So
no pressure.
I've been working on like building this brew house and like overseeing it for months, and like this is like I've done some water brews, I've cleaned everything, I think I have everything ready to go, but like I don't know what to do. And he's just like, calm down. 1, it's just beer, we'll be fine. People will drink it.
Exactly.
2, everything is a learning experience. However much you mess
Exactly.
up here, it's just the next time you don't mess those things up. So I've brewed now 11 beers on the system, and I will continue to keep putting them out like every week. And every single time I'll keep getting better and better, keep learning on. And I think that this is, this was my first sour here, and I think that they're just going to keep getting better from here.
And let the record reflect that Richie invited me to be a part of that. So he was totally up for the challenge.
That was like Richie's 8 Mile. Like he was like Eminem in the bathroom, just like mom spaghetti and everything.
I got to put the pressure on.
Well, hey, we're up against it here.
Yeah, I was gonna say we had a full-on show.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because I could sit here and talk to these guys for hours. But guys, this was a very unorthodox episode for us. I mean, it's just
we usually have our set questions, our outline, and everything. But when we do the live shows, we want the live ambiance to kind of guide the journey. And I think, the wordsmith of the night, Bill, is just he reinvigorated my love of craft beer with like how he talks about it. So props to Bill on the podcast.
I coached him up before he came on here. So.
Yeah. Richie prepped me really, really well, and behind that, I've got a few miles on the tires. So like,
I'm like, does he have somebody holding up like cue cards over there? I kept checking the bar to see if he had like one of those cue card things, or what's the thing that newscasters have? The
teleprompter.
Teleprompter. I'm like, where is it?
But But yeah, guys, thank you for taking time out of your schedule. Bill, it's an honor to be able to speak with you guys, with you in particular. Richie,
Richie, you're okay.
Yeah, Richie, you're all right.
It's an honor for me to speak with Richie, so I don't know.
Well, thank you to Richie for setting this up and welcoming us in. Wanting to come back on this Dog and Pony show, and
always welcome.
No.
Love
Best
to have you
friends.
guys here. Yes, 4 best friends now.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like that.
new friend of the podcast. Haven't done that in a while.
That's old school. But yeah, guys, remember, follow, rate, review. Shoot us a follow, all major platforms.
Facebook, Instagram, guys. It's Best Friends Pods. Best Friends. You want to do it, Tom? Give one.
I'll do it.
One. Best Friends. POD. Hell yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us, Victory. Victory Tap House in Philadelphia. It's
1776 Ben Franklin Parkway.
I mean, can't get a better address than that.
It's 1770. Really?
Yes,
It's the
it
address?
is.
Jeez, wow, really paid a premium for that one, didn't you?
It happens. Sometimes it happens.
Now you got to come down for just for that to say you've been to 1776 Ben Franklin Parkway.
Yep, and follow Victory Taprooms _PHL on Instagram. You see all of our offerings every week, all of our beer releases, all of the specials for food, all of our events.
You will see it nonstop for the next week on our Instagram story.
Of course, 100%.
So, like I said, guys, thank you for taking
Thank
the
you for
time
all
out
the
of your schedule
guys
and doing
or
it.
all the people out there who had to listen to us this whole time and not listen to music.
We got a wave.
We got one wave. Yay. This is exactly like my first birthday party when they just invited the neighbor over. They're like, oh, nobody answered your invites except for the neighbor.
Yeah, except we have beer now.
Yeah.
All right, guys. This has been the Best Friends podcast in the world.
We out.
Sweet.
You got to do the end song. Do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Best Friends Pod, hosted by Dan and Tom. Best Friends Pod, hosted by Dan and Tom. Best Friends Pod, hosted by Dan and Tom. Best Friends Pod,
So,
hosted by
You
Dan
guys
and
ever
Tom.
debate over, like, is it Tom and Dan or Dan and Tom?
Dan and Tom was the.
It does. It sort of does. All right, that's a good one. And that too. Yep. That's a good. That's a good backup. Great work. Thank you.
Fuck this shit. Clang out with little lunchbox.
Yeah, don't worry about this.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm a Stout boy, sometimes he's and this podcast is gold, so it's the one for me. The Best Friends Pod, hosted by Dan and Tom. Cindy Crawford's a fan.